Hi, this is On Imagination with the Healing Garden, and this is Shifting Perspectives. I am loving this. I'm having a fantastic day where it's just brain dump. This is why I do podcasting, is because I like to regurgitate all of my thoughts into the internet, and that's what I do. So, what are we talking about today? I know I just wrote down the stages of healing, and I'm like, all right, this is what I'm going to do, and then I'm like, well, what am I doing here? I am talking about the refined art of people. Oh my God, this is amazing. I love this. The refined art of people. I need to do this like as a surprise from now on, because I'll type in a list. I'll get an idea and I'll upload it into upcoming. And yeah, if you're new here, this is what I do is basically I talk about my ideas, my concepts, and I upload them into my system. And I don't know what's there. So I'll just go ahead and pull it up and then I'll see what it is. And I'm like, ooh, this is nice. I get this nice surprise, but I usually look it up before I hit live, and I need to wait from now on and do it when I hit live. So you get the reaction with it. So, and then what I do is I access the encyclopedia that is my brain, and I'm in the eighth perspective of the 8 stages of growth. And so I have a very unique perspective on pretty much everything. And instead of burdening all my friends with, hey, I got these great ideas, I mean, which is great. And I'm a hoot when you like chill and hang out with me, because then it all really comes out. But to do it this way is fantastic, because I can always go back and I can look at it, and I love sharing it. And if you get annoyed with me, you can just like turn it off. So it's a win-win, It's fantastic. So the fine art of people, the refined art of people. I love networking. I absolutely adore networking. And when you are in a healing mindset, there's there's basically 6 stages of healing that you have to go through, because this is it really. When you've had the fuck abused out of your subconscious mind basically memorizes lessons. It memorizes shit, and it integrates the lessons. It integrates the fear into your mind to basically create something I call behavioral defenses. Behavioral defenses is eighth perspective talk for mental illness, because mental illness sounds like a disease. Mental illness sounds like a derogatory term. Like it is, which is why we've changed it 8 times, because mental illness, it is a behavioral defense, because it's a defensive system. And to get into your system to become a behavioral defense, the subconscious mind basically takes patterns, learns the behavior, associates an action or a something with fear, and then puts it into your brain so that you alter your behavior subconsciously. It alters your behavior subconsciously so that you behave a certain way that is safe. And in every fucking case, it is a non-conformist basically being conditioned to behave like a conformist. And that fucking hurts. It fucking hurts. Now, there are degrees and levels of conformity. There's way out there conformists. And then there's, I'm a conformist, but I'm more in this range of a conformist. And then there's people who are just barely non-conformists. And it doesn't matter. We've all been abused. You could be a second perspective being forced to live in a fourth perspective. And oh my God, is that fucking hell? Third perspectives. I feel so bad for third perspectives. Third perspectives are in what I call the Lord of the Flies stage, where they need a survival book, bushcraft, a dagger, and the wilderness. Really, that is what they need for their mental health. Most 3-year-olds are in this stage. And they go out into the wilderness and they find themselves. And when they're done, just like in Lord of the Flies, they walk away realizing, wow, look at that. Law and order actually does mean something, and we should have it to keep me and everybody safe. But fourth perspectives come along and cram the third perspectives into the holes and say, no, you got to be in the box before they're ready. And as a result, third perspectives, are you listening? Are you all listening? Third perspectives never learn a really fucking important lesson. The lesson is you really need law and order to keep everybody safe, including yourself. There is a concept in Lord of the Flies and in Heart of Darkness and in this lifestyle, in the third perspective, where you reach a breaking point where you realize, oh yeah, I can walk all over everybody. But that means anyone can also just walk all over you. And if you don't learn that fucking lesson, you end up walking all over everybody for the rest of your life. Boom, narcissism. Narcissism. So it's really fucking important that we all learn the lesson that we need to learn while we are at each and every stage of growth. But we're not. We don't. We skip stages. Like the stages of growth is so fucking vital for our society to function properly. And we're not learning them. So when you get to that point where you are peopling, when you start healing, you think people, and it's terrifying. I've been there. Hell, I was there a couple days ago. I was there yesterday afternoon. I had to go meet a friend for something, and I thought, I'm scared shitless because I don't know what I'm walking into. Only I was able to sit down and analyze all of my shit and go, okay, this is definitely a fear of people. This is a fear of people because it's a trauma response. And I'm definitely thinking black and white right now because it is a conditioned response by my subconscious mind to keep me safe. I know all this shit. I made all this shit. So I'm going, okay, what's the real thing that I need to do here? What's the real lesson? And the real lesson was, this is an opportunity for you to grow. This is an opportunity for me to take the situation and make it bigger. Of course, retrograde. So I'm like, all right, I got this. All right, how can I learn? I got my boundaries, check. Good, I got my boundaries. I got my awareness, check. I got my assertiveness, check. And I knew the guy. I love him to pieces. He's one of my dearest friends. So, and I'm chill. I can set boundaries with him, no problem. I have never needed to. And that's a green flag. When you don't have to use your boundaries with somebody, you know they are fucking good people. So I walked into the situation, not quite sure what I was walking into, and it turned out to be fantastic. I had a wonderful time, and I learned a lot, and it was wonderful. And then I walked away with even more information. And I may have text dumped it on my partner. Oh my God, I'm so angry with myself. Why did it take me this long? And I ended up it was great because I warned him. I have a lot to say and I'm going to dump on you. I don't want to write an email, so I'm going to text it all to you. And it was wonderful. And he did the whole, oh, okay, I'm ready. And I love this man. I love him to pieces. He just gives me the space. And I just, and I made a whole lot of noise. And about 3 hours later, I was done. I apologized. He oohed and awed in all the right places, and he gave me a thumbs up in all the right places. And then I was like numb. I'm like, well, now what? And this morning I woke up and I felt weird. I felt calm. I never feel calm after a dump like that. Usually I feel raw. I feel emotional. That's how it's been. It's been a long time since I've regurgitated emotion like that. And this time it was orderly, it was calm, it was simple. And I was like, okay. And I had said everything I needed to say. I had a few more things this morning. I had some realizations. And then I wrote him an email and I explained everything. And then I had my massive umbrella epiphany where I went, there's the big picture. I've been looking for you. When I started my healing journey, I realized that I was afraid of myself because I had been conditioned to be afraid of me. So it was a lot of exposure therapy, learning to not fear myself. And then it was a fear of growth. It was realizing that I wanted to be a hippie now where I lived. I could not do that. Oh, there's another epiphany. This makes sense now. I was living with my narcissistic hippie hatred husband. Oh, yes, I was married to a hippie hatred husband. Both of my husbands were hippie hatred people. My father was a hippie hatred people. Everybody in my family was a hippie hatred people. And I'm a hippie. And I realized if I wanted to open my heart up and become myself, I could not be there. I mean, I couldn't be married to him. I could not be in central New York because it's anti-hippie land. And New York City made me feel safe because they're open-minded here. You are not allowed to be different outside of New York City. You're not allowed to be different outside of Los Angeles. Los Angeles and New York City give you the freedom to be really fucking weird. You're not allowed to be weird outside of Black Rock City, if you know what that means. So it was this realization that there were pockets of safety for people like me. So when it was time for me to grow, after I worked on myself and I went, okay, I'm not afraid of myself anymore. Now it's time to be different. Oh, I was not allowed to be different. And that was the end of my marriage. I was hanging on to that thing and I never would have left him. Because I am huge on when you make a commitment, you fucking stay. You have to throw me out. And even then, yeah, it's a process. I'm a Taurus, but he didn't. It was, and we were also trying to have a child at that time. And then thank God it didn't stick. Thank God the whole thing fell apart. Thank God he threw me out. And I went to New York City and then I lived a double life for a year. That was fun. I lived a double life. BDSM mistress by night. Actually, it was by weekends. And yeah. And I lived 2 lives. I was Angela upstate and I was Anna in New York City. And then I became Anna Imagination because I went by Imagination for a while. That was my name for a long time. For like 2 years, my name was Imagination. And then when I integrated, I went, well, now what's my name? And I had to figure out which of my 6 names I was going to keep because each one of my altars had a name and my core had a name. And I'm like, all right, who's going to win here? And Anna Imagination. So I realized that I was ready to grow. I was ready to be different. I was ready to be myself. And then I realized that there's also a fear of visibility. Now you see that with the 7th perspective. If you go through my playlist, you'll find the subconscious dialogues. And that was me dealing with my fear of being visible. And if you go back, oh my God, I love it. I love going back to my old playlists because I'm at a different perspective. And you can see them. Like when I started my podcasts, I was at perspective 5, and then I was at perspective 6, and then 7, and now I'm at 8. So you can see my perspectives change and grow. It's amazing. I'm so glad I'm out of 6. So glad. 6 was hell. 6 was, when I was in 6, I was like, whoa, but it was chaos. And it's not until you get to perspective 7 that you realize just how chaotic 6 is. And then you get to 8 and everything's fucking chill and awesome. And you're like, yeah, I'm just going to chill and hang out here for a bit. I love where I am in life. And yeah, you have to stop being afraid of yourself. And you really have to start going through the changes of growth. But visibility was hard. Being seen, oh, it was so satisfying and it was terrifying. Because you got that conditioning that you're not supposed to be seen. You're not supposed to exist. When I first read it, it was fucking funny as hell. Now it's not funny. Harry Potter, book 2. It's when Dursley is going over the plans for his raise. He's having his boss come over. And everyone's got an assigned fucking role. By the way, that's 2nd perspective. Uncle Vernon is a 2nd 2 perspective. Yep. There you go. And he said, Petunia, what's your role? And she's like, I'm going to be there to open the door. Okay. And Dudley? And Dudley's like, I'm going to offer them or to take their coat. And you, I'm going to be in my room pretending that I'm not there and I don't exist. And he goes through this like 4 or 5 times. And every time they come to Harry's role, he says the same thing 3 to 4 times. In the movie, it's once. But in the book, it's like 3 or 4 times. I'm going to be in my room, making no noise and pretending that I don't exist. And it was funny when I read it because of the redundancy. And I could hear it in my voice's head of him saying it so monotone and so dry. And that is so my humor. But now I'm looking back with that different perspective going, yeah, that's called fear of visibility. Because if you're seeing, you're beaten. I get it. Harry gets it. I love Harry. And then you get to that last stage and it's overcoming your fear of people. Your fear of people. You know why you're afraid of people? You're afraid of people because you don't trust yourself to use your boundaries. You're afraid of people because you don't trust that you can read a person properly. That's really what you're dealing with. It's not a fear of people. It's a lack of confidence and trust in yourself that you can keep you safe. That's really, really what's going on. And I learned yesterday that there's a spectrum of people. And I learned yesterday that there's a process to learning friendships. And I learned yesterday that there's stages. And I know my circle of trust. I have my circle of trust. I reverse engineer everything. So for me, it's okay, I've got my circle of trust and I'm in my circle. And I've got my partner in my circle. So we're good. I got my circle of trust. I'm happy. And we're both in there and it's great. And then outside of that, there's nothing. Up until last night, I didn't have areas or rules or anything, designations for these things. So I was, yeah. I suddenly saw seedlings, friend seeds. Oh yeah, I'm going to write up these words, friend seeds. We're going to call them friend seeds. And these are the things that you throw out there. And my dear friend showed me how to go through this process. And he's describing the first few steps to me and I'm going, oh, so they're friend seeds. And it's funny because it's the exact same fucking thing I do with networking. Like it's the exact same thing, except it's with friendships. And I'm like, oh, this has nothing to do with a lack of knowledge because I know this fucking shit. This is about fear. What am I afraid of? I'm afraid that I cannot improv. I cannot improv socializing. Well, there was a time I couldn't improv these conversations. I got real good at that. Then there is are you ready for this one? A fear of learning. What if I don't learn? You see, there's growth and then there's learning. What if I don't learn? What if I just keep getting hurt and hurt and hurt and I don't learn the lesson? So you have to trust yourself that you will learn. And I can hear people thinking things like, well, there's growth and that's the same thing as learning. No. Growth is a stage of learning. Learning is the full big picture. Growth is something that happens in the learning process. So being afraid of growth is one little absence or one little part of it. There's like, I've never broken it down, so I don't know how many stages of learning there are. There would be the realization that you don't have information, the pursuit of the knowledge, and then there's keeping it open-minded so you can perceive and receive, or so you can receive the knowledge. And then there's comprehension as you digest the knowledge. Then there's fitting that knowledge into your cognitive core for new data, new beliefs, new information, and then it goes through that. And then there's accepting it. And then there's the growth. The growth is the part where you change. It's the perspective shift when you expand and your perspective becomes wider. That's growth. But learning is the whole process. Do you trust yourself that you'll learn? That you'll learn from your mistakes? Because I didn't. So I just kept myself in a non-growing, stagnant position to keep me safe. I just opened those. Please leave them. Now my video is grainy. Please open it back up. Now my video is no longer grainy. Thank you. So yeah, it's definitely a fear of learning and trusting yourself that you can grow. And once you realize that you can grow, once you realize that you can defend yourself, suddenly it's like I said, I just had my circle of trust, and I got 2 people, just me and him, circle of trust. And in the dead center of that is me. This is my Anna land. That's my Anna land. That's where my genie bottle is. And then outside of that, that's my circle of trust. That's where he is. And I've got all these other stages, and I realized that it starts off as acquaintances. And some of them are going to take and some of them aren't, and that's okay. It was the expectation. I did have an expectation that they would go from stranger to best friend overnight, because that's how it happened with that narcissist friend that I had. That's just it. That's it exactly. It went from it was too fast. See, now perspective shift, I see it now. It moved way too fast. Way too fast. And I didn't know better. So I based all friendships off of that one. Oh, it went from 0 to everything overnight. And I never realized that relationships and friendships are supposed to be cultivated slowly over years. I did not know this. And when it wasn't happening fast enough, I was looking at it going, why aren't these relationships growing? What's wrong with them? I got angry. I got frustrated. And then one of these individuals sat down and asked me about me and really got to know me. It took him 2 years to finally invite me over, hang out, and we talked. And I spent the whole time just thinking, so this is friendship. This is what it looks like. But I'm going to say this. You can't do this until you're ready. And I know it's fucking lonely. I know you're lonely and you want to just jump right in there. And you got to find a way to endure the loneliness, but that's just it. If you jump too soon and you try and overcome your fear of people too soon, you will just be using them. You will just be using them to avoid the work that you need to do, which is fear of the self, fear of the being different, fear of growing, fear of talking, fear of being visible. And then you can address your fear of people. Your ability to connect with people. It's a big fucking deal. Because when you connect with people, you require vulnerability. And vulnerability comes with a lot of, it has a high price to it. And if you don't do the work, if you don't have the work in place prior to you giving vulnerability to somebody, you're going to get hurt. And that's just it. We don't learn all of these things. We hand out our vulnerability all the time too early. We get burned. We get hurt. And then we get angry that you trust people. You lash out. You decide, I'm never doing it again. I'm going to cut people out. Because you didn't do the work to ensure that you would stay safe when it's time to start using your vulnerability to connect with people. And that's just it. You have to use your vulnerability to connect with people. And if you're going, oh my God, no, it's because you're not ready. But it is a natural growth, and it's the last growth. It is the last stage. You don't get there. This is something that that fascinates me. I am doing a podcast right now called Predator Dating. And I haven't talked about this yet in Predator Dating. I probably will. I know I will eventually. But it was a meme I saw that basically said, if you're dating someone who isn't your friend first, then you're dating a stranger. Whatever happened to stranger danger? Like, whatever happened to stranger danger? And I know what it is, instant gratification. That's what this is. This is 100% instant gratification. Casual sex is instant gratification. You know, and it was with that guy that I met with the other day, where he was like, "Oh yeah, we're friends," and then he did the switch and bait, and then afterward he was like, "Well, I'm just looking for friends with benefits, and I don't do that shit." And I'm like, "Okay, first of all, we're strangers. We are strangers. You're not looking for a friends with benefit. You are looking for a strangers with benefits, and I don't do that shit. I don't do that shit. That is something that's not even on the table until we have been friends for 2 years. Because I don't know what you are. I don't know what mental cocktail you've got in your head. You don't know what mental cocktail I have in my head." And it's funny because the last relationship I had, the one with my partner, the reason why we are taking a break from each other is because when we started dating, we were strangers. And in hindsight, my greatest regret is not doing the mental work first. I really should have taken the time to do the mental work first. The time frame would have been the same. The only difference is now there would have been no pain, there would have been no anything. And I'm in a much better position now to actually have and start and begin and think about a relationship with him. But it requires all of this mental work first. And in hindsight, when I look at it, I'm like, oh my God, I dated a stranger. Now we're not strangers. And that's the difference. Now I'm stepping back going, he's not a stranger anymore. Now I actually know who he is, in and out. And it was extraordinary to see the depth that the relationship got into. Like, and I was just saying it to him this morning. Like, I can see him on a level I have never been able to see other people, because I've never gotten to know anybody prior to this. I talk all the time about people not knowing me and people not seeing me and people not connecting with me. But I also never connected with anybody. So this is the first person I've actually connected with that I'm not only visible to, but he's allowed himself to be visible to me. And because it's a two-way connection, two-way vulnerability, I was married to my second husband for 12 years. And we were friends since we were 12 years old. Altogether, it was a 28-year relationship. This is the narcissist who terrorized my children with domesticated terrorism and who threw me out when he couldn't breed me. And I had known him for 28 years. Because we never connected. We never fucking connected. I had no idea what I was walking into. He made sure he was never vulnerable with me, so I could never connect with him. So I never knew what I was dealing with. When you decide to people, and this is big, we think things like, I want X. I'm lonely. But you don't really take a step back and look at who you are and what you are. And you don't really realize what garbage you are putting on another human being. They're walking into a relationship with expectations, with hopes and dreams. And you're hiding a mental cocktail from them. And they don't find out about the mental cocktail until the cocktail explodes after 3 months. Is that fair to them? And that's the other side of all of this, is now that my mental cocktail is gone and I feel solid, I feel fantastic, I'm still not in a position where I want to date. I'm enjoying this. So I'm just going to be here for another year. And I'm enjoying it and I'm loving it. And I'm taking this massive amount of time for me. And I know the next relationship that I do get into, that one is going to be the last one, because I've done the mental work. And so has he. So we're doing this massive final sorting out our mental shit. It's as if we know what's coming. And we want to make sure that when we come back together again, we give each other the best. And that's it. For him, oh God, damn it, he has earned the best. And it's this realization that, and this is really it right here. There was a show called Brotherly Love with, I can't remember his name, Joey Lawrence, Brotherly Love. The Lawrence brothers were all in this. I think they were actually real life brothers. And it was on Disney back in the 80s or 90s, early 90s. And Joey had this serious crush, more than a crush, on one of the girls who worked in the garage with him. And there's this, they were absolutely in love with each other. You knew it. It was that classic Cheers, Sam and Diane bullshit that as long as they don't talk about it, the ratings go up. And there is this one moment where everyone's sick of it. Everyone's sick of them not addressing it. So one of the characters locks them in the garage. She's got a date. They're flirting. And the character locks them in the garage and puts on romantic music and walks away. So she's missing her date and they're stuck in this room overnight together. And it all comes out. They finally confront it. And it comes down to this. I know when I hook up with you, it's going to be the real thing. And I'm not ready for that. And that's all it was. It was beautiful. And it really, that's it. That says so much. That really says a lot. The fine art of people. It's not something you can rush. Love someone the right way, so that when you finally come together, you have a lot to give them, because they're worth it. For more shit like this, subscribe to my YouTube channel. And If you really want more shit like this, subscribe to my amphitheater. And if you cannot get enough shit like this, become a Healing Garden member. You get all of my masterclasses for free. Take a look at the link down below. Thank you so much, and may the kindest of words always find you.